Yeah, we'd be
Before
done
you
by
open up.
before July
Okay, that'd be good.
1st, so we'd have it in this bud, but yeah. if
Could
we
it
could-
probably be a standalone loan, but it'd be lumped together like you did with the intake, when you put all
you-
3.7?
I've got the money to pay it back, that's all I need.
Okay, that's all I care.
Remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Please silence cell phones, other devices. Item number 1, citizen concerns. Is there anybody that would like to speak on a topic that is not already on the agenda? Please come up to the podium, identify yourself and address, and please try and limit it to 3 minutes or less.
My name is Carol Hennings. I live at 1970 Garner Avenue, Mobile, Iowa, 51039. I'm here to oppose the Summit Carbon pipeline. The one thing I want to talk about is the eminent domain. The Iowa Utilities Board has a right to grant a private company that is privately funded, that is for-profit, the right of eminent domain. What does that do to the farmer? That takes away my right to manage our land. That's not right. Private eminent domain needs to be used for exactly what it's supposed to be used for by the federal government, the states, the county, a city, to be used for public access, such as a park, extending the interstate, a utility, like a pipe, or not a pipeline, but a electrical substation. It is not to be used for a hazardous CO2 pipeline. How many of you are going to come to our farm and want to see a pipeline or spend time on top of the pipeline? That's what it's for. It's for the public to be affected by it. I understand that capturing the CO2 from the ethanol plants will help to decrease the CO2 in the air. I'm not a real advocate of that. But I do want to say, and especially you, the county, we have land that is owned by the county, and they want to go across that. What are you going to do? That's what I want to know.
For the moment, we have not granted them permission. We have taken no action on giving them permission to access our land for survey purposes.
Okay, so if I want to do that, how do I do that? Because they're telling us that we can't object.
I guess I'm not going to give legal advice. The best I can do is get you to keep objecting to them being on your property, and perhaps Mr. Whitman someplace might get some legal advice. I mean, I'm
Yeah, because that pipeline going through Woodbury County, actually, we don't have an ethanol plant now in Woodbury County, do we?
that I know of.
Yeah, so it's not of any value really to us, but it's going to cause a lot of problems. So I want to go on the record by saying I am completely against it, both the Summit Carbon Solutions and the other one that is coming through also is Navigator, and there's possibly a third one going to come through. So we need to, join forces and try to get through this together.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? And please try and limit it to 3 minutes or less.
Good afternoon. I have a pipeline issue also, although it's not eminent domain. What? Oh, I'm sorry. Deb Main, 1026 Charles Avenue, Sioux City. So we don't have the ability to grant or deny a permit for the pipeline, but what we do have the ability here to do is to hire an inspector for the pipeline, and they're required to do that. A pipeline that Summit Solutions would like you to hire is ISG. ISG did the work on.
We've already done this
What?
step, and we went through, DGR, which is a local engineering
So you've
firm.
hired them, then you've signed a letter of intent with DGR?
DGR, yes.
Excellent. Speech over.
Anybody else anxious to come up to the podium?
I'm Gail Palmquist, 1848 130th Street, Lawton, rural Lawton. My and my husband's families have farmed in Lawton, in Woodbury County since, and Correctionville area, since the 1800s. Summit Carbon Solutions is proposing a pipeline which will go through a whole mile of my land, and I am objecting to this proposal for several reasons. One, Northern Natural Gas already has a pipeline through our farm. It has not been a congenial relationship. We have spent thousands of dollars repairing the damage they created on some of our most productive cropland. I do not want to go through this again with another pipeline, promising things which they can renege on, and us having to spend our money to correct the damages. Not only do we have terraces that will be damaged, but we have tile lines in the bottoms. A study by Iowa State University has concluded that the damages to and scars on agricultural land by construction of pipelines last much longer than the 3 years of decreasing payments to farmers proposed by Summit, up to as much as 10 years. We are expected to be partners in this venture that will make millions for the investors in a private company, while they will expect us to be happy with the pittance. Our land values and rental rates will surely be affected. We will be left with a mess on our land. And the reference I have for that is Iowa State study on damages from pipelines. It's my understanding that the county supervisors will be responsible for selecting a supervisor for the project. Now that, I assume, is what you just mentioned, the REG, and you've already done that. So that's great. We don't want the same outfit that did it for the for the Dakota Access Pipeline. My next concern is the relationship between former Governor Branstad, Summit, and the Iowa Utilities Board. Branstad is an advisor to Summit Carbon Solutions, and I'm guessing he's also an investor. He appointed 2 of the 3 members of the utility board. How is this not a conflict of interest? I have another Google site. It's called Conflict of Interest. Critics question $4.5 billion Iowa pipeline proposal. My last concern today, and I'm sure I will be back at some point, is that these pipelines are classified as hazardous pipelines, as in dangerous, as in risky, as in unsafe. How many oil spills have occurred with the oil pipelines that were not ever supposed to happen? Many, as we all know. Why should there be 2 hazardous pipelines so close between Sioux City and Lawton? It's my understanding that there will be one going just west of Lawton called the Navigator, and then the one that will be going through our land, which is further west. Why should there be hazardous pipelines in close proximity to any population centers that have development potential? I think Sioux City, Sergeant Bluff, Lawton all have a lot of development potential yet that hasn't been realized. And 2 pipelines going through that area definitely is not going to be a plus for any of us. So, thank you.
Thank you.
So out of curiosity, wouldn't it be the
Mark?
state legislature that potentially defines public use as far as eminent domain goes? Would that be an avenue to, seek clarification
Briefly, if
on the
possible.
use of it?
Yes, I will. As quickly as I can answer a little bit of your question there. Any private business can apply to put a pipeline across Iowa. It's up to the Iowa Utilities Board to determine whether or not that serves an essential public purpose, which would allow them to acquire property by eminent domain. That finding isn't made on either of these pipelines yet. The best advice that James Boyd from the Iowa Utility Board gave is that people with objections should send letters to the Iowa Utilities Board while they're within their comment period prior to having the hearing permitting the pipeline. So I'd encourage the folks that spoke today to make sure that they do contact the Iowa Utilities Board and make them aware of their objections. Eminent domain and a finding has not yet been granted on CO2 pipelines. So
Thank you.
That takes care of it.
Is that,
When is the deadline to get comment?
I would get it there within the next week. It's typically 30 days after their hearing. So you're right up against that for Summit, but you're ahead of Navigator.
They've already had their hearing?
They had their planned hearings October, I believe it was.
Mark, can you take those folks in the back so we can move on with the meeting? Bruce, did you need to speak, or are you in unison with the rest of the folks here? And then maybe Mark is going to give you guys some pointers on what to do. So if we're going to move on. What? Item number 2, approval of the agenda. I'll move approval.
Second?
Motion by DeWitt, second by Radig. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Items 3 through 9 constitute a consent agenda of routine action items to be considered by one motion. Items pass unanimously unless a separate vote is requested by a board member. Item 3 is approval of the minutes of the November 9 meeting. 4, approval of claims. 5, approval of resolution to approve the proposed amendment to the Electronic Services System 28E agreement. 6, human resources. Approval of memorandum of personnel transactions. B, approval or authorization to initiate hiring process. 7, Board of Supervisors. Approval of resolution providing for the amendment of the Articles of Agreement which form the Workforce Development Chief Elected Office Official Consortium for the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act of 2014. Number 8, County Treasurer, approve property tax refund request for parcel ending in 021 in the amount of $1,490. And item 9, Secondary Roads, approve the underground utility permit for telecom construction for Lumen. Do we have any questions or issues on any item in the consent agenda? Hearing none, I move approval of consent agenda.
Second?
Motion by DeWitt, second by Radig. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item 10, second tier canvass of the city school election.
I'm Steve Hoffmeyer with the Auditor's Office. I have to present here for you the second tier of the canvass along with the abstract of votes and certificates, the winner certificates, and this is the final canvass for the city school election. This one combines any of the information that was from neighboring counties that involved any of our races that were in the election, so.
Move to receive.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. And we will move this now. Thank you. Anything we need to know, Mr. Hoffmeyer, other than,
Nope, that was it.
there's not quite as many as last? Oh, there is quite a few.
Maybe a little less.
Can we move on while we're doing this, Mr. Gill? Yes. Item 11, secondary roads. A, approval of resolution to revise the Woodbury County FY '22 5-year road construction, and Mark is nowhere to be found.
Oh, yeah.
We'll move on to item 12, conservation. Approve funding mechanism for the CIP project at Browns Lake.
Dan Heisel, Woodbury County Conservation Board. I'll make this quick. We've discussed this in past budget hearings with CIP, the road replacement at Browns Lake, and then we started our concession project. And in talking to funding mechanisms, ideas were thrown out, and we moved forward and working with Dennis. And the Conservation Board would like to do either a revenue bond, or on Dennis might look at doing a loan where we repay this. This would be all through our CIP account from revenues that we generate through the parks. I've given you a rough snapshot. I've been working with secondary roads on the top part, which is the road replacement of all the concrete in the park. And then the concessions and beach, the playground, and then tornado shelters. So our goal is to let bids on this, and they should come in cheaper than this, we hope. And if not, we'll just start backing out and prioritizing the project for the amount that we're able to either do a revenue bid bond or a loan with you guys. But we would repay this over a 10-year contract like we did the Snyder Bend Road and the Nature Center Road. And we do have revenues coming in every year that would pay for that. So, any questions? I just need authorization to move ahead in one form or another with Dennis so my board can let bids and start accepting bids so we can get this set up for spring, because we'd start construction in April.
You have anything, Dennis?
The only thing we look at, see if it should be a standalone loan or bond, revenue bond. Neither one will affect taxes, or we combine it with our CIP. So I will be talking with our current person we deal with the bonds or our loans with, and see which would be most advantageous for interest rates. And like I say, we usually do our CIP loan in May. I don't know when the next Fed board meeting is, but we may be on this project, just go alone, standalone loan, and it's paid by the revenue from the parks. And we have done this in the past. And it qualifies, big qualified too.
What do you think we should do?
Say yes.
Okay. I think it's a good collaboration, good opportunity for you to get this moving and be a partner with you guys moving forward on it, so I'll move it.
Motion by Raddick. Second by DeWitt. Any further questions for Mr. Heisel or Mr. Butler? All those in favor say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0.
Thank you. We appreciate your cooperation on this, and we'll come back to you with more results. Thanks, Dennis.
There's Mark. Item 11, back to secondary roads. Approval of resolution to revise Woodbury County FY '22 5-year road construction program.
Forgive my informal attire tonight. I came in from vacation. We're kind of short-staffed. Ben's on extended medical leave, and Colin's attending a snow conference today, so I got done duck hunting a couple hours ago when I just got here. So we're requesting that we advance 2 projects within the 5-year program into the accomplishment year. The first is LB M299 on Taylor Avenue. Last week, the board took action to close that bridge on behalf of our county bridge inspectors, who determined that it had a serious structural flaw that did not allow it to remain in service. The other one is to bring forward Bridge E299-1, which is on Correctionville Road, just east of Charles Avenue. We'd like to bring that into the accomplishment year as well. County Bridge A24 did not make the essential, or the qualifying bridge list from DOT for this year, so I'm looking at substituting the 2 projects. We should be able to qualify it for that qualifying bridge list for a 2023 letting. The 2 bridges are approximately the same cost to construct, and we have the bridge very close to being ready. We're looking at a May or June letting so that we can get construction done on Correctionville Road next summer. M299, we should be able to have a January or February letting to get that one also constructed next year to minimize inconvenience to the area property owners. I recommend approval of the resolution.
I'll move that.
Second by DeWitt. Motion by Radig, second by DeWitt. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Passes 5-0.
The resolution also requires the county auditor's signature. You ready for item B, Rocky?
I'm sorry?
Are you ready for
Yes.
item B?
Item B, receive bids for precast bridge production and return them to the county engineer for review and recommendation.
County Bridge B64 is a severely deficient bridge. It was damaged but able to be reopened to traffic with minimal posting level after the 2018 flood event that hit the northern townships of our county. We requested precast deck slab bridges. This is the most cost-effective structure for this bridge and road, we feel. We'll be hiring a contractor to drive piling, construct back wall, do channel improvements, and then set the deck slab sections into place. We received 2 quotations that we've examined, and I have a recommendation. The first was from Odin Enterprises of Wahoo, Nebraska. Total price, $53,774.14. The second bridge we received was from Forterra, used to be Iowa Concrete Products. Forterra's bid was $112,515. We recommend award of the bridge precast sections to Odin Enterprises for $53,774.14.
I'll move to receive them first.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Passes 5-0.
I'll move to award to Odin.
Second. Motion by Radig, second by DeWitt. Any further questions for Mr. Nera? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Passes 5-0. That was C.
Yep.
Item D, approve the contract for the Oak Ridge Park project to Holly Brown Construction for $66,078.50.
I request the board table this for action for next week. Holly Brown wasn't able to get us a contract today. We anticipated they would, but didn't quite make it. So,
We can just delete it from the agenda and take no action.
any way you wish to handle it. We should have it by next week. They just weren't able to get it to us for today.
I'll move to postpone to next week.
Motion by Radig, second by DeWitt to postpone. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Can you bring more stuff to sign, Steve? Yeah, I mean. Good. Board administration, we didn't do you yet, did we, Dennis? Approval of resolution for inter-fund operating transfer for FY 2022.
This is transfer from general basic to the authority, the maintenance fund, which is the 400,000 years additional rent on top of the base rent. This year, we did not get levied into taxes on debt service, so there's a tax break there, there's a taxpayer on that. So we are transferring the money there. Next year, for the next 19 years, that 400,000 will be included as a direct tax on top of our base rent.
Anything else we need to know that?
Additional rent actually covers service and utilities under section 9.1 of the lease. Insurance expenses, section 13.2, and enforcement costs under section 15.2. The authority will be reviewing this to see if the 400,000 may be too much money or not enough. I got an assumption it may be too much. So we'll revise that, at least we'll have to come back through approval through Jason and Joshua, then submit it to the board, but that'll probably be December, January, probably January. There's quite a few changes.
I'll move it.
Motion by Raddick, second by Wright. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Passes 5-0. Reports on committee meetings.
At a Siouxland District Health meeting, I guess the major item was a budget revision simply to accept $60,000 more in federal grant funds. Came in mid-budget.
Which one is this?
Siouxland District Health.
Oh, okay. Mr. Wright, anything?
I'm going to reach out to try to get the landfill board together to talk about policy related to disposal of tires.
Okay.
See if we do that here in the short term.
Mr. Reddy?
From Simcoe, we were discussing hiring a new finance director as Bill Cole will be retiring. So that is something moving forward with Simcoe. I guess.
Round two of Mr. Taylor, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Round two of citizen concerns. Is there anybody who would like to speak on an issue that is not on today's agenda?
Mr. Chair.
Sir.
I want to bring up a concern that plagued the county for several years, but it has to do with smoking in the alley. We have employees that continue to be concerned about the smoke that comes through the windows in both the auditor's office and the recorder's office. There were some emails exchanged with the county attorney. The county attorney says that we need to come to the board to ask for that enforcement.
Kenny, do you have anything on that?
Kenny Schmidt's Building Services. Yeah, it's the smoking issue in the alley has been an issue since my involvement with the county. I've known about it for the past 6 years. It's been a problem. We've looked into it. Originally, we thought some of the smoke was being brought in by our fresh air intake system. We've looked into that. I believe that is not the issue. If it were coming in our fresh air intakes, there would be other areas in the courthouse affected by the problem, which there's not. And so I would have to say that most of it's coming in through, like the leaking windows and things like that, and just, not a tight building. So I know in the past it's come up several times. We actually tried removing some cigarette butt containers at one time to see if that would alleviate the problem, and hopefully the people would move on, and that didn't seem to work. Then they just threw them on the ground, and so we returned those buckets. But so as far as solutions go, I really don't have one that is building related that I can help with, other than there's a possibility we could put some signage up outside the building in those areas, and maybe that would help.
I know that a phone call was made to Security Bank, that maybe some employees out there from the bank are smoking. Seems to be a nice little cubby hole to fit into back there in the alley, but it has reared its ugly head more than once in the past. Mr. Butler.
And I have talked to two people that were back there the last week and a half, and they politely said, okay, we didn't realize this. So they didn't move and they haven't been back.
Okay.
Are you going to be in charge of enforcement?
That's the police officer. That's or building security can handle that.
I think building security was be tasked with staying inside the building for the better part of, per the sheriff, but, sir.
Terry Svensson, 1318 West 2nd Street, Sioux City, Iowa. I've heard it since I've worked here for 9 years about the smoking. The alley's a public passageway. So you're never gonna stop the people, the bums, the people from walking up and down the alley. I realize you don't like the smoke smell. Fix the windows, that's where it's coming from. The seals are all shot, they're 100 years old. You're never gonna stop it. Your jurors that are here for jury duty, they go out to the alley to smoke. That's a public passageway, that's a city passageway. We're the county, we can't tell them people not to smoke out there.
Well, on that
We can
note,
tell them not to lean on our building.
I'm not arguing with that point whatsoever. It's that the city employees and the county employees do know the rules, and therefore they should be living by them. But once it gets to the jurors, yeah, we don't, it's harder to police those.
And yeah, you got the public that goes up and down there. I come out the back door, I'll light a cigarette, and I walk up the alley to the next job that I gotta do. It's a public passageway.
Joshua, in the public alleys, is that legal?
Well, I guess I haven't looked into the issue whether you can smoke on the road or not within the city. As it pertains to county property, it's clear that it's prohibited by statute. There's a penalty, there's an enforcement penalty both against the smoker and against those in control of the public property. So if it's something that the county's aware of, it's something that we need to address and not allow it to continue. If it's not county property, then we don't have any jurisdiction over that.
Correct. We can tell them not to sit on the stoops out there, but we can't tell them not to stand in the alley. That'd be like telling me if I'm out coyote hunting and I shoot a coyote and have a cigarette out on a county road, I can't smoke. That sound like it happened?
Anything else you'd like to say, Mr. Gill?
We have tried to mitigate, we've got purifiers, we spent a couple $1,000 on purifiers in both offices. Pardon?
A little bit less.
That's what we do, and you know, it does boil down to the windows leak. I don't know what what you can do about that. Would that solve the problem, Kenny, if they put new windows in?
To be honest with you, I don't think putting new windows in would solve the total problem. I think you'd have to keep going and repair all the brickwork. Brick and concrete breathe as well. So I don't think there's a fix for this building that's going to solve that problem.
Well, I got a unique experience at work today, and our building's quite a bit newer. We ended up with a crackhead in the alley that had started a fire to keep warm, right against our building pretty much. And, you know, we asked him to put it out, but he was not even coherent. So we had the police department come and assist the man in getting into their car. But the entire half of our building smelled like smoke up until I left at 3. So that's a lot newer building, and it was a small fire, but
Right.
I mean, it filled up the whole building, like.
And that's another thing about buildings is, yes, we as well as everyone else who are owners of buildings are required to provide so much fresh air intake, but that is limited to what your building can actually do. And I'd also add, when you get into the cooler temperatures of wintertime, that air exchange usually goes down much more because you can't recuperate the heat loss that you would lose in that fresh air exchange. So your fresh air intake is probably less then as well. And that's why you see the lingering smoke that you saw probably when you had your person out in the alley with the fire. But
it is interesting because I was just reading on the smoke-free Workplace Act, and it does not include any roadways, alleyways as public property. But in our case, we have no grounds either. So it's kind of a unique situation in the law as to what you would interpret. But I think if you just put signs and stuff on the building and respectfully ask, some will, some won't.
I think that would be probably a fairly good approach, at least to start with, and see how it works out.
Who ultimately is supposed to enforce that? Because you're the dad.
Well, at the same
They
time,
said we'd
it's like,
go to the Board of Supervisors where I was directed to go. Obviously, I can't enforce it, but employees have continued to address the concern to me. I don't have a good sniffer, it doesn't bother me, but it is a concern, and they continue to express it to me. I've expressed it to Building Services, HR, and to the board. But no, we can't continue to ignore it. Somebody has to enforce it.
Mr. Woodman?
Well, I think ultimately, it is the board that should be directing and has control over the courthouse and other county buildings. And the board's obligated under the statute to keep the grounds smoke-free. So whatever that looks like, there should be some sort of a process in place that if there's a complaint, of who that complaint should be made to, and then if there's someone out there that needs to be asked not to smoke there, who's that going to fall upon?
Joshua, aside from the parking area, what county property is there aside from the building itself next to the alley? Because is the alley, is everything up to the building? We have no jurisdiction?
Well,
The footprint is the courthouse.
yeah, you'd almost have to do a survey to see exactly where the property line is. I think Beacon could probably give you a general idea. There is a little bit of gray area as far as what constitute the grounds of a public building. If it, does that include the sidewalk outside, the road leading to? I think my sense is that there's a fair amount of kind of repeat offenders, or people that may even be county employees or employees from the surrounding buildings that kind of take shelter close to the courthouse. So if some of those were addressed, I think the issue of passerbys on the sidewalk or the street may be less of a concern.
Sheriff, can I get with you in the very near future and we'll investigate what we might be able to do with this going forward?
We certainly can, yes.
Thank you very much.
It might seem to be a weird angle, but if we did put some signage up, or whether we didn't put signage up, and we removed the ash containers that are out there, it would be a strange angle, but if someone were then to throw a cigarette butt on the ground, I think that would be deemed as littering. And if you wanted if things got that ugly, if you want to call it that, someone could probably enforce that. But we'll proceed as
Melissa?
wherever the board wants.
Excuse me. Can I ask Melissa a question?
Certainly.
How does the county policy
The
fall
county,
under this?
the county policy reads that you cannot smoke on county property unless designated areas or in county vehicles.
Is there a place that you could designate, possibly? Is there anywhere that could
That's
be
pretty
designated?
hard in the city, so.
Well,
I mean, I can designate possibly for Woodbury County employees. I can't designate for the city or another business's employees.
I think under the statute, though, designated place could not be land owned by Woodbury County. Even if it's an employee, and basically, it's supposed to be a smoke-free workplace under the statute.
Under which statute?
2008, smoke.
State or county?
State.
So the state says you can if it's considered a park.
I think I'd rather talk about a carbon pipeline at this point.
Well, it's better than it used to be because the employees used to complain about the supervisors smoking in the chairperson office.
The property line is just our building, so anything beyond that is not county property, according to that, so.
Well, there are little alcoves that are in there, that's where they spend most of their time. We'll just call Dennis from here on out.
Sure. Give Dennis a badge.
I don't need a badge. I can't get a helmet.
Super soaker filled with Mountain Dew? A super soaker filled with Mountain Dew?
So going forward, I will speak as chairman to the sheriff and see if we can come up with something, and of course with Kenny on perhaps signage, which everywhere assigned, but.
Sounds like we couldn't say no smoking in the alley, just no smoking against the building.
Yeah.
Or in the dumpster?
Well, I was just thinking, it's too bad we didn't have a sign that said, don't light a fire behind the dumpster and burn it to a crisp, because that happened a couple of years ago. We didn't have a sign. That guy did that, got away with it.
Was never apprehended.
But didn't he light his shoe on fire and then
Can we
throw
put
his shoe
this to
away?
bed right now,
Oh,
because
sure.
we're.
Can I just ask one question?
Yes, please.
Out of curiosity, so I know you and I.
Please.
The people that are smoking on county property, are we saying that they are county employees, that they are other employees, or they're the public, or are we saying that they're actually smoking on the alleyway?
The smokers that I've witnessed are walking out and across the alley and standing by the parking ramp, the private parking ramp, and I've heard no complaints about that.
Okay.
But the other ones are city,
Go ahead, hold on just one second, just go ahead.
but it has been, historically, it's been city employees and bank employees too, is that correct?
That's what I heard.
And county employees.
Okay.
And the ones I see are sitting in the window wells.
And if
That's
they're-
county property.
If they're county employees, I would say the responsibility is with whoever their supervisor is to hold them accountable to follow the county policy. If they're city or county, if they're city or bank employees, other than telling them to leave our property, I'm not sure, Josh, unless you can think of something, I don't know what else we would do. If they're standing across the alleyway at the parking ramp, is there anything that says it's the property adjacent to the county property, or is it just the county property?
Well, it goes back to, the statute says the grounds.
Right, so
It's a little bit of a gray
we can
area.
certainly talk about it, I just don't see, Rocky, where there's much we'll be able, that we would be able to do, but we'll talk more about, I just didn't know who the violators were, so.
Well, I can answer that question because I was like, well, I'd say during that work my next job.
Can you go to the mic, please?
It's the bank and the city employees, and they are acting in the codes. And mostly not the county employees that are smoking, the ones that are, the county employees that are smoking are traveling. They're not usually standing in one spot. It's the city workers and the bank workers. And they do back into them coves out there. But if they move out into the middle of the alley, what are we gonna do? That's city property, not county.
Well, then, that'd be good, that'd be an improvement because it wouldn't be coming in the windows.
Yeah, that'd be better. Okay, I was curious.
Is the horse dead?
Also,
No smoking in the alley when a car is approaching. Just,
Thank you very much. Is the horse dead now? Yes. Okay. Board concerns, in the past, we have had a holiday employee luncheon paid for via gaming. Is there any interest on putting on another one of those this holiday-ish season? And we're going to assume that there's going to be some inflationary value added. I think the last one we got for around $2,600, so I will put that together with the board administration or board people in there, and we'll get that put together starting tomorrow or later this week. Anything else for the good of the cause?
We do have a problem out in our landfill with the board. Last couple of meetings, I only had 2 members out of all the members, between the board member and all the mayors, they've had 2 people show up. Technically, they can't even prove a bill. Now, they got another problem. The 2 signers on checks both resigned. They have nobody out there to sign checks, so right now they're at a stalemate. They don't have enough people on the board to even prove claims. Second, they don't have anybody even sign claims. So I've talked to Jeanette, the clerk, city clerk from Pearson. She's the secretary, alerted her of that, and we're kind of a quandary. What do we do? They can't get anybody to show. This is even after having an E911 meeting. They all leave and no one comes to the landfill meeting.
Matthew, would you like to take over the landfill committee like we did Grant Township? Please say no.
We'll see.
But they need to do something because bills will be coming up and we can't pay them. Because we don't even have anybody signing checks. There's 2 people out to sign a check.
Okay.
I'm alerted,
Are they still in county? Like, they could designate someone else?
The what now?
Those 2 people could still designate someone else on the account, right? They're
Not
not.
after they resign.
Well, the bank,
Appointed by the board.
the bank works with who's on the account, so they could obviously sign over to someone else.
Possibly.
Yeah.
There's a county supervisor on that board, correct?
There used to be 2, I think we're down to 1 now.
Okay.
And they just don't, not only the board, it's the whole, not all the mayors don't even come to the meetings anymore.
You gotta have like a minimum of 7 or 8 mayors, I think, there to,
We run into that problem before too, when you had to have something passed by DNR that sends up a review or something.
well, we're gonna need to re-impress the importance of being on the landfill committee, I guess.
Justin's gonna bring pizza.
I'll sing the song.
That'll get ready there.
He likes traveling in county.
I'm gonna show up with, we're going with Febreze instead of Mountain Dew.
We are